Hey y'all, how you doing today? Oh, wait a minute. There we go. All right. Today is scrap metal day. Um, I've some of what I've got on my trailer is my stuff, and then I've got some stuff from my aunt's house. Um, this little explanation, a little backstory. Uh, Several years ago, my uncle, her husband, passed away very sadly. Uh, Wonderful man. Uh, I still think highly of him, and I miss him. But um, she has since very recently has sold the house they lived in. All right, that makes that's honestly that's a pretty good idea. I mean, so in that case, she wants to sell the house, but there was a bunch of scrap metal laying around everywhere in the basement, in the yard, and her late husband was a bit of a pack rat. Some of her sons, one of her sons is a bit of a pack rat too. So, that's how life happens. Okay, I've got no room to talk. So, anyway, all right. So I'm just going. This video is mainly to show you about some things you need to do when you're hauling scrap metal, and basically when you're using a trailer. Period. Okay, when you're using ratchet straps, how to use them, what you need to be doing when you do use them, and everything like that. Okay, and just some helpful tips and tricks to pass along to you all. So, first of all, sure you've checked everything on the vehicle doing the towing and the vehicle doing the hauling. Now, some of you may say, hey, why didn't you just load all that crap up in the back of that and then avoid having to mess with a trailer? Well, here's the problem. The problem is that I don't want that crap in there, because if I've got that in there, then that stuff will beat the hell out of that. Okay, and I don't really want that. It's not so much I'm like, oh, I don't want that little scratch. It's not so much the scratch. It's stuff like this. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that first everything is strapped down or tied down pretty securely, very securely, because when you're driving down the road with this, you're going to experience bumps and humps and everything else that the trailer is going to flop up and down on, and you want to make sure that nothing's going to come flying out. Like in this cabinet, this rotted cabinet, I've got a bunch of bags of cans and some scrap aluminum. Okay. In here, I've got some more scrap aluminum. In there, I've got a bunch of scrap metal, and also in that tub right there too. You can see I've got the cable coming from my winch, hand crank winch, running all the way across a lot of this to hold it down. Okay, so even the old microwave, and I've got two straps holding this thing down, and I'm using this larger piece of metal here to help secure all of this. And that's the main goal. Is what I want to do is be able to drive down the road with this and nothing come flying out. That's the main goal. Now you can get creative and use pieces of fence wire to cover things and stuff like that, to cover these more loose objects. But I've got my straps crisscrossed here on this thing to help hold things down and keep things from moving around. You also want to check your straps before you leave. Make sure nothing has moved. Nothing has gotten loose. Okay? So, another thing is about your straps, make sure they are securely attached to some sort of anchor points, some decent anchor points. Okay? This is not ideal, but it'll work in a pinch. Okay? I needed it to go, this strap to go right through here. The sun is really bright out here, so I do apologize for the glare and other issues. Okay, we're pretty secure right there. I'm not worried about that. Okay, another thing, check your tires. Make sure they're aired up. I've already checked these. Make sure they're not like threads are showing or knots on them, dry rotted and cracked all to hell and stuff like that. Okay? Make sure those are in good shape. Make sure also, you don't hear people talk about this much, make sure that your valve stems aren't like junk. Okay? So, also make sure your lights are working. I checked the lights on this thing last night. I pulled this around to my front yard last night in anticipation to do this. So now we're going to crank this down. Well, if I go the right way, crank this down. And even though I've got some misalignment issues here, which is not a big deal, I will let the weight of the trailer kind of work on this. And I'm also going to back the truck up just a little bit. So I'll be right back. You know what? I decided against that. I decided I'm just going to try to grunt the trailer over here. Lower it down just, let's see. How about that? All right. Okay. Okay. Got my jack all the way up. Flip that up there like that. Let's put the lock on here. Okay. Then I've got my pin in right here. Yep, and clip is in right there. Okay, yep. So that receiver is secure. The ball is secure. I'm gonna hook up my chains, my safety chains. I see something I'm gonna have to repair. Temporarily repair anyway. But look here where I'm hooking up the chains. You wonder what these little holes are for here on your receiver hitch. That's what they're for. Okay. Another thing I'm going to do real quick is I don't want my chain to drag the ground, so I'm going to twist my chain up just a little bit. Now when I go around a turn, this will unfeather, but then it'll feather itself back together. You know, it'll squeeze itself back together. It'll come apart a little bit, but then it'll squeeze itself back together. I've been doing that for years. That keeps my chains from dragging the ground and destroying a chain as you're going down the road. All right, you want to make sure you don't have to use a padlock, but I just do to keep this thing from somebody, like if I've got something valuable on the trailer that I don't want somebody to steal the trailer, and I don't want somebody to steal what's on the trailer, I keep a padlock on here. Okay, and I keep the key on my regular set of keys. You can use just a nut and a bolt here. If you don't want to use a lock, that's fine. But it's that, a lot of that is up to you. It's your call. Okay, that's your call to make. All right. Let's see. Now you want to use some sort of connector like this. You know, heavy duty. It's not some just completely piece of plastic crap. This is a 7-blade RV. Okay, you've got the center pin, and then you've got the blades surrounding it. And they call it a 7-blade, even though the center one is a pin. Hey, I don't make this stuff up. Okay, I guess I could, but that's what they call it. And they call it a 7-blade RV because, well, it's used a lot by RVs. Now, I done something here. I took a piece of old hose and I encased my wires in this old hose right here. One, to keep the wires from dangling down on the ground, and two, to keep to give this some body, some structure. Okay, so to protect the wires inside here. Okay, so now I run an external ground. This just runs to the frame of the truck, and this runs to the frame of the trailer here, and then also to back there to the lights. Okay, so hook that up. That's just a simple connector right here. All right, this is my breakaway cable. It's broken. Okay, it accidentally got dragged on the ground. It is very, very long, though. It's always been too long. So I think I'm going to have to come up with some sort of way to fix this. So give me just a minute. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. Got the cable, the breakaway cable, fixed. You want to make sure and secure it to some point on the hitch of the truck or of the tow vehicle. One last final check before we take off. Make sure everything's secure. Stuff will move around as you're driving, so just be prepared for that. Yeah, there we go. That's a good place for that. Yeah, so just be prepared for that. Also, too, be aware of your tail strap